conference, like most frequently asked questions. For the kids camp, like all kids are welcome, any ages, naps, whatever. We're gonna send out a survey to you all probably in March and ask you about each of your kids. And do they, are they toilet trained? Do they have seizures? What are the red flags? What's the best way to calm them if they, have a hard time? And do they nap? And when is their nap? And all that good stuff. And we have a really, really great kids camp director this year. I'm so excited for her to be in charge. And based on what you say in your survey, she's going to hire enough people that the kids who need like a one-on-one have the one-on-one, that there's the right group going to the away from the hotel, the National Ability Center camp part. And so all of this is in the works, but yes, and adults. So if you have a kiddo with CTD or GAMT who's an adult, they're welcome to come as well. And all of the siblings are welcome. And it's really fun. So we have a lot of stuff planned already. And the hotel is such a nice hotel. We're gonna have like a little petting zoo come and they'll go outside and see the animals. And look, we're gonna try to mix it up as much as we can so they don't feel like they're locked in a prison. Um, any other questions that are like on your minds? And if you should be now registered and there's a code so you can do it free as parents. You should have a hotel room and I can set those up so that they charge to our account unless you stay the extra day or come in an extra day early. And your flight should be booked with the travel agent. So if you're missing any of those links or phone numbers or whatever, ping me and we'll get you the information. Next slide. Newborn screening's doing great. Next slide. Race for a Cure, we do have some announcements that are coming out very soon about some really awesome big projects that we are kicking off because of this fundraiser and the great success it was. So stay tuned for that. And also for fellowship announcements, we have uh, 6 fellows this year, and they're all doing really meaningful and interesting research. So more to come. Next slide. Next slide. You all have probably been seeing CCDS Day posts, but we're running them all month for Rare Disease Day. So if you haven't done it and you want to do it, you can fill out the form and send in a picture and comments about how your story began. We're highlighting these as know the signs and symptoms, right, and get tested, and just awareness in the general public of the, sometimes these disorders are caused by a genetic cause. Next slide. So the registry, exciting news, the community survey that we created with this group to survey our whole community about the smallest meaningful changes that will be expected of a trial, both a traditional lower risk trial and a gene therapy high risk trial. That is all in the registry now and available for you all to take that survey. So hopefully you're a registry participant, you're already signed up and you've done the various surveys. And now when you log in there, you should be seeing you have one survey to take. And if you have any problems with your surveys or your registry, or you haven't like logged in on the new platform, and the new platform is the same company, your data followed you, it's just a different kind of software that it's set up in. You can contact Emily, who is our registry coordinator. Her email address is really easy. It's registry@creatineinfo.org, and she can help get you set up. What we're doing with this is that parent panel meeting that is that first half day of the symposium. We're going to feature the results of this and we're going to discuss it. We're going to have those subject matter experts talking about, well, how would you measure this small change in cognition or adaptive function or whatever, and then talking about the tools. And so this is all going to come together in June. So please take the survey. And also this year, we're going to be releasing a seizure survey and a communication survey called ORCA. And we are going to write a paper with all the data, not all the data, but much of the data from our registry is going to be written in and published in a medical journal to tell the world about creatine deficiencies with real data from all of you. So your participation is very meaningful and important and gets your kiddo included in this great paper and onward. Next slide. And Holiday Heroes did amazing, $271,000. And we surpassed our goal. So thanks to everybody that helped to participate in that. We really, really, really appreciate it. Next slide.
And we already talked about this.
We already talked about that. Yep. And we had the potty training. We did have the potty training meeting. We held it yesterday and we recorded it. So it should be up and sent out to you all probably today or Monday. And you'll find it like on our YouTube channel, in our community chat, and then we'll put a link to it in the newsletter that goes out this month as well. But it was actually a really, really good meeting, and she has a really strong background in helping kiddos with special needs to get potty trained, and I think it was really, really great. So next slide. And our next meeting is March 20th. We should have one on your calendar for March, April, and May, and then we'll have the symposium and we'll be done. Next slide.
All right, that brings us to today's presentations. We just have two parents who are going to present, Brittany and then Angela. So Brittany, we'll go ahead and let you get started.
Okay, great. Can everyone hear me okay? Because my internet recently changed over. I just want to make sure you can hear me. Okay, awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Brittany McKittrick, as Celeste said. I am a uh, mother of two kiddos. Sunny, who is 6, who you see here, he has CTD, and I have a 9-month-old girl named Murphy. Who you'll see probably in a picture later on in the slide, who so far is typically developing. What I will say though is having a 6-year-old and a 9-month-old, it's very clear having a typically developing 9-month-old where the deficits were that we questioned early on with Sunny are. I mean, it makes it so much louder. With Sunny, he was our first, and so we were back and forth trying to understand what was normal, what was not. Are we just anxious parents? I think we all kind of went through that with these diagnoses. So we live in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So yes, we are in the ring of fire right now. Our family is safe, but we do see a lot of what's going on that you hear on the news. So aside from that, my husband, Kevin, is also part of our family, and he's wonderful. So I hope that we get to meet all of you guys in June because our whole family will be out at the symposium in Utah. Okay, so we can go on to the next slide here. So, yeah, journey to diagnosis. I think all of our stories are so unique, but I think they all have a very similar thread in that we were all questioning something, but maybe at the end of the day, got a diagnosis and were surprised, but also relieved in hearing that, what you're feeling or thinking is not, you're not crazy. So, Sunny, that picture on the left is the day he was born. He was born, and I had a very typical pregnancy. He came about 8 days early, which is not anything to really ask questions about, and we had a pretty smooth delivery with him. He was a bit jaundiced when he was born, but that recovered on his own. He didn't require any other treatment. Things that we started noticing that we thought maybe were just, the questions were he wasn't latching right away. We ended up having to use a nipple shield for that. And about 6 months, or sorry, 6 weeks after he was born, he ended up starting to latch. And so we just thought maybe he just needed a little bit of help, but no concerns really thinking about that moving forward. Um, I will say he was, developing somewhat normal, I would say, for the first 6, 7 months or so. But that's when we started noticing that he wasn't sitting up on his own. He didn't have the core strength. So We started PT with him when he was, I think in this picture on the right, he's about 10 months old. And so he was able to start sitting on his own. But they noticed he had flat feet, so he started using SMOs, or these little like feet orthotics, to help him kind of support his balance and stability. He wasn't pulling to stand. All of it seemed like he just wasn't strong enough. He was very interested in it. He just wasn't strong enough. And so we thought maybe he was just, I don't know. We weren't quite sure what was going on, but we kept getting reassurance from physicians and our physical therapists that sometimes this happens. They need a little bit of support. So we didn't really think too much about it. He did crawl late. He crawled at 12 months, and then he walked at the very tail end of the normal window for us, which was 18 months. But he did have like a foot slapping walk when he started, with his hands in high card, so like kind of up here, and he would walk and his feet would slap. But we were grateful for any progress. But at the time, we were still trying to figure out like what he needed and just kind of meeting him at every step. He was also not talking at 18 months. He was babbling a lot. He's very vocal. He always has had a lot to say, and he'll let you know what he needs. But no words could come out other than mama and dada, which again we thought was normal for first words, but then it didn't really progress beyond that. Um, but we felt like in our gut something was off, but we just didn't quite put a finger on it. Um, when at this time we were living in Washington State and we had a full-time nanny, um, she started with us like January of 2020, so like 2 months before COVID hit and everything closed down. So we were very lucky to have childcare through the initial, year and a half of the pandemic. Um, we didn't have to worry about daycare or staying home. We had someone who was dedicated to us coming in. So we look back and have so much, we're just so grateful for that opportunity, that situation that we had. And when we moved to Minneapolis in 2021, we started putting him in daycare because it became too expensive here to have a nanny. Um, I think at that point, the first daycare he was in, after being there for 4 days, they called us and said he can't stay here. He requires too much support. There was no talk about trying to figure out how we can make this work. We thought it was just because he was brand new to daycare, he needed to warm up. But at that point, we just said, if you don't want our child there, we're not going to try to make this work because he's not going to get the care he needs. So we ended up going to another place, which was great for a while. It was very far from our house. And then in July of 2021, I picked Sunny up from daycare when they called me and said that he was like limp. He felt like a noodle and he was very lethargic. So I took him straight to the urgent care. They checked him out and everything was fine. His vitals were fine and everything. They said he probably just has a virus. It's his first one since he's been in daycare. It could hit him hard. Just make sure he's hydrated, get him some rest. So we came home and he had a 3-hour nap, and he woke up and he was happy, and we had a snack and some water. And I remember putting him down and walking in the living room and turning around, and he just started crying. And it was out of nowhere. And so I went and I picked him up, and as soon as I picked him up, he had his first seizure. And he had a full grand mal or tonic-clonic seizure. And so every symptom you can have from a grand mal seizure, he had. So it was very scary. I thought he was maybe choking on something. This was my first time experiencing this. And so I immediately I ran to our alarm system and hit, medical emergency, and I texted my friend 911, I need you, and then I called 911. So I was like activating all the alarms, and my friend ran down the street and I told her what was happening and to please, help the paramedics in. And his seizure lasted, felt like 10 years, but it was probably close to 90 seconds. And we thought maybe it was just because of his virus. But they brought him into the hospital, and while we were in the hospital and they were assessing him and trying to figure out what happened, he had a second seizure. And that one actually was sounds kind of strange, but it was actually really nice for him to have had that second seizure in the hospital because I was getting so many questions about what did he look like what did it like all and I was trying to process being a mom and also trying to help the situation. So it was nice that my husband and the medical providers could see what it looks like and oh this is yeah, okay, this was a seizure, and they kind of confirming what had happened. So he was transferred. He ended up being hospitalized for 4 days in the PICU. He had 7 seizures over 17 hours. He did not respond to Keppra, but he did finally respond to a medicine, and they did the genetic panel. Um, and the 6 week wait of trying to figure out what is this, or if we're even going to know, are we even going to get an answer to this? Um, while we were waiting, we got a call from his pediatrician saying that they think he has prolonged QT syndrome. So we've talked about that a lot here. So this heart condition, we were able to get him in pretty quickly to the cardiologist, and they confirmed that he had that condition. And so we started him on propranolol right away, and we've been monitoring that. That's a whole nother journey. Um, but yeah, the call came in September 17th of 2021 that he had CTD. And I think, as parents, you hear that diagnosis and you think, okay, he has this. What can I do now? What are the treatment options? That's the first thing you ask. And it's the first time that your gut feel like your stomach just completely drops is when they say there is no treatment, there is no cure. We just manage those symptoms. So I remember Kevin and I had to take off the rest of the day. Sunny was still in daycare and we just were in bed just crying. I felt like for like 4 or 5 hours. We just were grieving and we didn't know what to expect. Um, so that was our kind of like come to diagnosis of CTD. It took me probably a year to get involved at an ACD. I needed to be able to talk about it without completely breaking down. And once I joined though, it's just been the best support. So other diagnoses, a couple of other things, and I'll try to move a little bit quicker. Is Sunny had a hypoglycemic episode. I think I brought this up a couple, maybe once or twice before, but in December of 2022, he didn't wake up from his night's sleep, and he just wasn't waking. We thought maybe he had a seizure that we missed, and he was post-ictal. So we called the ambulance, and in the ambulance on the way to the hospital, they checked his blood sugar levels and it just registered as low. When we got to the hospital and they were able to give us a number, his blood glucose levels were at 15, which if you understand blood glucose levels, like a normal range is between 60 and 120. 15 is kind of near death. A lot of people don't survive that. Oddly enough, Sonny didn't have any other symptoms aside from just being lethargic. He didn't have any seizures or anything, which I would have expected, and so would have the doctors. And he was given IV sugars, and they kept him overnight. But he kind of perked up, and we were sent home with a blood glucose monitor to check every 4 hours for the first week. And luckily, it just didn't turn into anything. They ended up testing him for another rare disease called glycogen storage disease type 1A. And that everything was negative. They looked for failure to thrive. They looked for a bunch of other different things that could have caused this, and nothing, nothing really showed up. So we just monitored him very closely. Anytime he was sick, we made sure he was hydrated and was able to eat. But it kind of just resolved on its own. And that is kind of one of those zebras within our zebra that I am still like, what was that? But I like to bring it up because I think it's important to make sure that our kids, especially under 5, are well hydrated and getting sugars in them because under 5 for any kid, regardless of rare disease, it can lead to a hypoglycemic event. I've learned through this whole process. And so that was kind of a interesting learning curve through the whole diagnosis. Um, okay, so we can go on to the next slide. So this is a video. I don't think that it was pasted as a video, but I'm happy to share. This is me with Sunny, and in my lap is his talker or his AAC device. So this is how he communicates with us. Sunny is non-verbal. He doesn't talk, but as I mentioned before, incredibly vocal. He has his own words, he has his own language. But using his AAC device is something that we've been working on for probably 4 years, and I think he's improved a decent amount. He still gets very distracted because he has undiagnosed ADHD. And so he'll see like a vehicle and just be like, oh, vehicle, and touch that, 10 times and we'll get completely off track. But he knows when he can use it and he'll come back to it a lot, especially if he wants to ask for food or water. And that's been really cool to have that new communication. Um, I'm just looking at my notes here. So Sunny, so his current symptoms, so since that seizure event, he has not had a seizure. So knock on wood. So we're coming up on almost 5 years, of him being seizure free, which we are so grateful for. But we also know this could change at any time. So our alarm bells are always up. He's non-speaking. He was diagnosed with an intellectual disability at 5 when we had him go in for his first neuropsychology evaluation. We believe he has ADHD, and he has hypotonia, so he's got low muscle tone, which we think is affecting really everything for him to be able to communicate. And his, explains the orthotics and the PT and this not sitting and all those things. So um, he's very, and I've heard other parents talk about this. He's very like on to the next moment while he's in. Like as soon as he shifts to the left, he's like there for half a second and then he sees something else he's interested in. He's just like a ping pong ball. He's just all over the place. He's got this incredible zest for life. He's just always very happy, and if something makes him happy, he'll just clap and it'll be anything and he'll just be like, oh, I love this. And that's so cool to see that he's just, regardless of this condition, he's happy. And those are the two things that I think that we've dropped as parents after learning his diagnosis is just the expectation just kind of fell about like what his life would look like. And we accepted that whatever happens, happens as long as he's healthy, or we're doing whatever we can to control keeping him here with us and he's happy. Those are kind of our two main priorities now. Um, so yeah, I think like this isn't going to be surprising to anyone, but we have to really think about where we go and who we go with and the things that we can do because every little thing requires accommodation, unless we're in our house and we have this safe space built for him. So it requires thoughtfulness, or it requires us to say, you know what? This is going to be hard, but we're feeling brave and strong enough today to just try it. So let's just do it. So we've gotten better at that over the last couple of years, but it is very hard, especially when you have a kid, like most of us do, that might present typically developing in their appearance initially. And people automatically see that and have an expectation for their behavior. I mean, I think we all do that without thinking about it. And it's not great, but it's just something that happens. And so when, you meet Sunny and you're like, oh, okay, here's this kid, and then he starts acting maybe like a 1.5-year-old versus a 6-year-old, then you try to get ahead of that as a parent and make sure that they understand like he cannot be left alone. He needs the support. Um, what else? So yeah, he has like meltdowns. He's very impatient, so I think we've heard that too. Like he has a hard time waiting. I don't know if it was you, Celeste, someone early on had said, my child just will have a meltdown if we're waiting at a stop sign or a stoplight too long. And I remember hearing that and processing it and thinking, I wonder if that's going to happen to me. And it did. Sunny had that same thing where he just, if we were too long at a stoplight and we weren't moving, then it was meltdown city and but he recovered quickly. I mean, he has these big meltdowns and then if we get him distracted, he's fine. He'll move on to the next thing. So, I would say, dysregulation is a big issue for him. Um, he does take medicine 3 times a day. So he's got his seizure meds, his heart meds, and then he's got like a supplement for his heart meds, or actually it's for his seizure meds to so that levels of the seizure meds don't become toxic in his body, so it helps level those out. I'm not super into the, you know, full understanding of that, but he's on that, and then he's on, all the supplements, so arginine, glycine, and creatine. I think we all know that the arginine is the worst. So that's the one where he will be fine, and then we'll get there and he'll have a full meltdown because he doesn't want to take it. Luckily, we're in a place where he does take it, even though it's a huge fight. So we are continuing with that and just saying, this is going to suck, but let's just get it over with. Um, and yeah, so that's kind of how he is with daily impacts. He started kindergarten this year. Um, and that requires a lot of support. He's in a great program or a great, he's in a public school that has a great site-based special education program where he's pushed into general education classes. He has one-on-one para support when he's outside on the playground because he could elope. And it's more of a game for him to elope, not necessarily that he's trying to run away as fast as he can, but he wants to see if someone comes to chase him. So that's always a concern. Um, and the bigger they get, the faster they are. So it's been harder to keep up with him. Um, and what else? Other daily impact. Yeah, I think, it's a lot. I think we're all exhausted, but you get up and we do our thing and um, just try to focus on putting one foot in front of the next and keep going. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, current level of functioning. So Sunny needs basically full-time assistance in everything he does. He can feed himself. This is a picture of him with his cars. He loves cars. These are Hot Wheels. He has them mixed in with his chicken nuggets. Um, he's obsessed with cars. It's since day one that's been his kind of special interest. But he requires support changing, bathing. We have to brush his teeth for him. He can eat himself and drink himself, which we're very grateful for. Um, but supervision, due to his hypotonia and his ADHD, he's not safe on stairs. So we have baby gates, and um, that issue is falling, but also not being able to catch himself. So um, the concern is him hitting his head there, of course. Yeah, so he has the AAC device. But he has a couple of signs. So he says more, but I would say he's so vocal that, he has a ton of approximations. So he'll say like mo or wa for water. He says cheese, like solid. He'll say that word. Um, baby is his little sister. He'll say that. So he's got a decent amount of words, and he really loves to talk. We just got a school picture with all of his classmates on it, and he's been very proud of showing us that. And he'll walk over and put it in front of us and touch each face, and he'll go Weewa, Dewo, Nemo, and he'll just kind of like he knows them, but his mouth won't let him, give us the name. For a few friends that he's very close with, he'll say like the approximation, like for Michael, he'll say Ma. So that's really cool. And I think one thing we've learned, and we try to tell people who are kind of getting to know him or spending time with him, is that everything is about context. So if you're on Sunny and he starts talking, look around. If he says "buh" and there's a ball, he's probably talking about the ball. And if there's not a ball and there's a bus, he's probably talking about the bus. So try to like be very present with him. Um, and then just I think that's one thing that's we've learned as parents too is just how to be present. You just have to be present with these kids. Um, Otherwise, they're frustrated. You are frustrated because you don't know what they want. If we are not paying attention to Sunny, like he will take our phone and put it away, and he will put like his face on ours and basically say like, "I'm talking to you. I'm trying to hang out with you. Like let's talk." And we'll say, "Okay, great." Like, "Okay, sorry, I'm paying attention." So again, he may not be able to talk, but I feel like I understand a whole lot of what he's saying, which I'm really grateful for his kind of ability to connect in that way. So meaningful differences. So treatment for Sunny, I mean, this one's tough. I mean, there's so many things that would be nice to ha improve. I think our number one goal is really anything that would improve him being safe in the sense of like medically safe. So seizure control, any type of support with his heart. Um, I mean, I don't even know what that would look like. I guess anything that kind of shows any type of therapeutic level for CTD would be amazing. So that would be my first priority. Anything, because anything beyond that, that would be, I would love to hear him say, I love you, or, talk and even a couple of words beyond what he's saying. But I love Sonny for who I mean, he's cool. I love hanging out with him. So I don't necessarily want to change who he is. I just want to make sure that he's safe. So for treatment, I feel like anything that kind of shows anything medically, or even if it's, hey, let's do this nasal spray, which we're all waiting to hear on, or let's take this powder or this meds, and we start seeing speech gains or improvement in muscle tone. Like, yes, we would totally dive into that, I think, as long as we get it approved by all of his doctors. Gene therapy, this one is a little bit, I think we're all a little bit, we all take a pause on this one, right? Because we have to think about, some of the concerns of the how intense gene therapy can be. Um, I think it would probably have to be like a very sure um improvement. So this is not gonna this is gonna come out strange, but I feel like the comparison is really, if people can understand this, is the GLP-1 drug that people take for weight loss. We've seen that that's is the miracle drug. It works, right? So knowing that is kind of a sure thing. Is kind of the feeling I would have to put Sunny in gene therapy. Like it's out there, it's safe. We're not seeing, which is tricky because gene therapy is inherently has way more risks than a traditional treatment. Um, but I think it would have to be a long conversation. We would have to have, um, I don't know, things might have to get worse for us to consider this, I think. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, so this is also a video, which is I'm happy to make sure that people have access to if they want to see it. But this was him when he first started walking when we moved to Minneapolis. It was just showing his high guard and his foot slopping. So this was him about 18 months. So his current level of functioning, I think I talked a lot about this already. Um, for eating, he uses a fork sometimes, but he really prefers just kind of shoveling his hands and using his hands. Um, he is a creature of habit, which I think a lot of our kids are, which is he'll eat very specific things. And luckily we have a decent rotation of food, but anything new that's introduced is immediately met with like distrust and speculation. And he'll usually just throw it because he's like, nope, I don't want that. Even if it's a chicken nugget that we know he likes, but it maybe is shaped different. So we kind of have to we just have our safe foods for him, but it's really more of our like comfort foods for his dad and I, which we're like, okay, we know he'll eat this. We want him to eat, so we're going to continue to give him this, and every once in a while we'll maybe put something else on the plate that's new. Um, Another interesting thing, and I think maybe some of us have also experienced, is that Sunny will not eat anything sweet. The sweetest he'll go are like pancakes with syrup or waffles with syrup, but he will not touch cakes, candies, um, sweet drinks of any kind. We have to get unflavored Pedialyte when he's sick, like that extreme. He just has just this huge aversion to it. He's always had it, which I find super fascinating, and I would love to know more about that, if we ever do. Um, and yeah, other things for him. He can't write. I mean, he's pretty intellectually disabled. He can scribble. He's starting to do circles, so that's like a new skill for us. Um, and yeah, I think, that's probably a good picture of him. We can go to the next. Yeah. So emotional dysregulation, I think, I touched on this earlier, is, he can go from 0 to 100 really any time. I think for the most part, we understand which things are going to trigger him or which situations can trigger him. So we try to get ahead of it or we just brace ourselves for it. So like getting off the bus and coming inside from school, like that is a huge, we need like a 5-minute meltdown and then we're good. We're back on track. we're ready for a snack. Anytime we go into the car, although being in the car is his favorite, but the transition is hard. Um, Taking things away from him that we are ready to, okay, we've had enough of this, or we're moving on to this, or we have to go upstairs and take a bath. Like sometimes those things are very, very tricky for him. Um, so again, I think it would be nice, obviously, to show some type of anything that could help with emotional dysregulation would be just be nice. I would love to take him out to eat at a restaurant without him losing his mind. Um, but again, that's, something we're slowly working on, and we also just kind of look to him and say, this is a day where he seems like he could be patient. Let's try it out tonight. So we kind of just let him lead. Um, yeah, and this is also a video of him laughing, pulling his little sister's sock off, who he's very much obsessed with. He loves his little sister, and she loves him. It's such a fun thing to watch them, their siblings. Um, okay, we can go on to the next. So again, Sunny being very like very just quick to I'm making a choice, I'm doing something. I'm impatient. And this is a picture of him sitting in the tub when I turned around for just a second to get something and he had jumped in and plopped in. So he is clearly very proud of himself. But for expressive communication, yeah, again, like I'd love for him to be able to chat with us. So I would probably try a treatment that might support that, but I don't know if gene therapy alone or expressive communication alone let me make me want to try gene therapy. It'd have to be bigger than that. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so cognitive functioning. So I touched on this earlier. This is him now. This was our recent family photos in July. He's such a handsome little man. Um, but he's got significant difficulty learning and retaining information, and problem solving. Um, Everything for him, if he's going to learn something, requires hundreds and hundreds of repetitions over feels like forever. So that's another thing I feel like I've seen with my daughter already is saying, "Oh, Murphy, try this." And she'll look at me and then I'll try it and then she'll try it after me. And he just doesn't have that. Um, so it's just, I like to call anytime he can finally grasp a new skill like an uh what is it called? Like an inch stone versus a milestone, because for us, these little inch stones kind of add up, and eventually we do see progress, but it's like it's not these big steps. It's just little steps, these little inches that we're moving. Um, Sunny, let's see, he remembers a lot though. I mean, I don't know about y'all's kids, but like Sunny can take my phone and navigate it better than me, or his iPad, and he'll knows exactly what he wants, and then he'll be on the phone and like a notification will come in, he'll just swipe that up and just keep going, and it's just fascinating some of the things that they really catch on to, I think. um I don't know what it is. I think everyone is addicted to these who's on them, but like to see even like our kids who have these such big hurdles to break through, they're also able to kind of break through and learn and grow and like with these types of things, which I think is awesome. um Yeah, I don't know. I think for cognitive functioning and improvement in him just being safe, being able to say, "Oh, I can't run into the street," or "Oh, I shouldn't run away from my teacher," kind of understanding some of that safety awareness or stranger danger, that would be really nice to have, which he currently lacks. And I think we can all feel very nervous about that if we send our kids to school and wondering, is he safe? Is he okay? Yeah. Okay, so we can go to the next one. So I talked about this a little bit. So he had his one bout of seizures in 2021 and currently is seizure free, but we've been on a very consistent seizure med for almost 5 years now. Um, we have not had any EEGs though to like since then. We don't have any concern for seizure activity just because of how his present. We don't have any concerns, but I am very curious about, what happens after this 5 year seizure free mark, because I don't necessarily feel comfortable being like, great, let's just take him off meds and see what happens because we know that the seizures are so unpredictable in our kids that I don't really know what that's going to be, but that's a conversation that we'll have in the next couple of months with his neurologist. Um, yeah, a treatment for him. He's on seizure meds, so we're already kind of managing that. If there's a new one that supports that being better, great. Gene therapy, I would say, is something we would consider if his seizures started getting worse or became more rampant. So just as from a personal experience, that would be our um, kind of thought on that. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Okay, so this is Sunny at Christmas. Shows just how happy he is. I think, the most concerning, aside from the medical issues and him being safe, we just, want him to be happy. Improvements to behavioral regulation are super important. But like I said, we just really like who he is. So we don't want to do something that's going to change who he is. We can endure some of those behavioral issues, but we just want to make sure that for the long term, that he's safe. And that gets a little bit scarier the older he gets and the older his dad and I get. Um, so, I think we all have those fears in the back of our head that kind of creep up depending on how we're feeling. But overall, he's wonderful. And I really hope that you all, if you're going to the symposium, get to meet him. And I look forward to seeing you all there. So I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you so much for listening to Sunny's story. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brittany. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Brittany? All right.
Just a lot of similarities. You told his story so well. And yeah, I noticed with having Cadman's younger sister how striking it is. And it's more like I realize how hard it is to teach things to Cadman, but I'm amazed how easy it is to teach her things. And it's like so miraculous that our typical brains process things like that. And like
Yeah,
in second grade, and she's got these words for a spelling test, and we can just go over them a couple times and then she knows them. I'm like, oh, that's amazing. But I have greater appreciation for that at least.
totally. Yeah, and I think one of the things, this is going to sound bad, but I remember having our daughter, and after a few months of just her just being an easy baby, we were like, man, people who don't have kids with disabilities really do have it easier. Like
Yeah,
you you think about it and you're like, man, this is hard, but this is just all that we know. But then you have a kid who's typically developing, and you're like, no, this is harder. So it really, I feel like it really supports like, okay, how I'm feeling is valid.
right. Although I will say I said the opposite when she was about 3. I was like, that's the easy one. She she never stopped talking. She's always complaining and whining. And anyway,
Yeah. And we have not
anyway, we
entered that
appreciate
yet.
our
We
quiet.
haven't entered there yet, but Erin, I'll
Yeah.
call you when we're there and I'll say, you told me this.
Right.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Brittany. We hope your family feels better.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. With that, we'll move on next to Angela, who's going to share about Avery. Or, I mean,
Yeah,
Mary,
thank
I'm sorry.
you. Yeah, yeah, I'm Angela, but yeah, I'll be talking about Mary. Um, so Mary is 5 years old, 5 years, 5 months, and we live in Lancashire in England in the UK. Mary has Gant, and a few things about her. She loves crisps, or chips, instead of an American. She loves jumping. She loves throwing things, and she's a very critical about music. You have to have exactly the right music on all the time. And in this picture, she's got a remote control because the remote control is her favorite object in the world. So she's quite often just carrying one around. Next slide, please. So our journey to diagnosis is slightly different because Mary is adopted. So she only came to live with us when she was nearly 3 years old. So that was in June 2023. And we officially adopted her last March in 2025. So we knew that before we met Mary, we knew that she had some developmental delays. But the first kind of noticeable thing that we experienced was when we were the first time we were actually on our own with her. So when I say out on our own, me and my partner John. So we were kind of just getting to know her, trying to kind of initiate play, but she literally suddenly just lost all muscle tone and just fell forward and hit her face on the floor. And it just seemed very, very odd to us that she would just completely collapse. When we mentioned it, it had the foster carers told us that it had been happening a lot, but the doctors were putting it down to kind of her background, being overwhelmed, sensory issues. But however, when she moved to us, we noticed she was doing it quite a lot. She was she was distressed afterwards. She was always tired. She's always had this like low muscle tone. I think you can see in the picture she's really tiny. I don't think the picture shows how tiny, but she was like the sixth percentile in for weight. She couldn't walk at nearly 3 years old. She had no speech. Really severely kind of developmentally delayed. So yeah, as soon as she moved to us, within the first week, I think it was, we went to the doctor. So told them about all our concerns, about the falling, and they immediately referred us to the epilepsy clinic. So she had an MRI, and that was clear. And then she had an EEG. That wasn't wasn't fun because she really doesn't look like being touched and was trying to rip the things off her head, but somehow we managed to keep it on for like a minute or something. And during that time, I remember she was eating a cereal bar, and I remember seeing her kind of drop, a head drop, and I thought, that's what we've been seeing, so it must have picked something up. And from that EEG, they found that she had focal epilepsy. She started on Keppra from that point, and then that didn't work, so they then added ethosuximide. Don't know if there's a short name for that. But yeah, so she was on these two anti-seizure meds. The ethosuximide seemed to make a slight bit of difference, but we were still seeing like really brief seizures, kind of up to like kind of 50 times a day, if not 100 times a day. Like it was just brief ones, one after another all the time. So alongside it, we were seen by the community paediatrics, who gave her an autism diagnosis because of having no speech and all the other reports that were coming into them. And off the back of the epilepsy and autism diagnoses, she then had whole genome sequencing sent off for, which took, I think it was maybe more than 6 months to actually come back. So she had the whole genome sequencing and then was found to have GAMT in July 2024. So she was nearly 4 years old at that point, when she was diagnosed with GAMT. From that point, we were referred to the metabolic specialist in Manchester, and she started on creatine straight away. We couldn't get the ornithine for, I think it was about a month because it wasn't in supply anywhere. And weirdly, we started on the creatine on its own and we actually saw an increase in seizures. And that was a really bizarre kind of thing that they'd never seen before. They put it down to, they just said she must have a very sensitive brain for any changes that's going on with her. But we're still not sure why introducing creatine kind of increased seizure activity at that point. When we added the ornithine, when it came back in supply, the seizures completely stopped. So that was a huge difference, obviously to life. As she's kind of grown taller and put on weight and things, we've kind of noticed that some seizure activity has started to come back. So we're working with the specialist to up the dosage of ornithine and creatine at the minute. Mary has, so she's also on amino acids, and we try and do the low protein diet, even though she absolutely loves chicken nuggets. And yeah, and she also just loves crisps and potatoes, and they wanted us to kind of be on 4 grams of protein a day, and we were like, she can eat that in one sitting, just in crisps, so it's going to be very, very hard. But we try, and yeah, she does really well with eating fruits and raw fruits and vegetables. So yeah, we kind of managed to get some good food in her as well. Um, since she started treatment, we've noticed she's way more alert. She could communicate better, even though she's non-verbal. And she also started walking. So it was quite quick. She had the drive to walk. I think, like Brittany said, she was always trying to walk. She was trying to pull to stand, but she couldn't kind of walk unsupported, and it was the muscles obviously that were just holding her back. So once she could, she was, yeah, very happy to start walking. Yeah. I think next slide, please. So yeah, this picture kind of shows how enthusiastic she was about starting to walk. I think this was one of the first times that when we were out and about, that she actually got out of the pushchair and could just walk down the street. Obviously, I've got the reins on because she was still a little bit uncoordinated, so sometimes she was tripping and things. And she also runs off. So yeah, but she was really over the moon to do that. So strengths that she's got, I mean, she has been through more than most people have to in a lifetime already, and I think she's she's just so resilient. She's so determined to do everything. And I'd noted zestful life as well as one of the things, as one of the strengths, and I think Brittany said that as well about Sunny. She's got a really quirky sense of humor, and I think like that kind of comes through more and more the more that she's kind of cognitively developing slightly more. She's also really affectionate. She cuddles us all the time. We couldn't imagine that she would even want a cuddle. When she first came to us, she wouldn't look at people. She didn't want kind of yeah, she didn't want hugs or anything like that. But she's really affectionate. She loves movement, just wants to be moving all the time. Loves music. Has to be the right music. And yeah, really strong physically, now as well as mentally. So she's just, yeah, she's very, very good at kind of, I don't know, dragging you places, snatching things off. She's really strong. So yeah, current symptoms. She does obviously have cognitive impairment. She's still got mobility problems. Her hips actually turn inward because she was late walking. So they're monitoring that until she's 9 and then seeing whether she needs an operation. I don't know how we would manage her having an operation on her hips, so that's still to come. The daily impact on quality of life, I think, like you say, like we've never known any different really, so it's kind of, we just appreciate Mary for who she is, and but she is really quite, she has to have a routine, and we have to know what we're doing. She has to know what we're doing. She would be really hard to settle if we suddenly went to a restaurant. She's a sensory seeker, so she's constantly kind of needing sensory input. Noise levels have to be right. She has to have the right thing on TV. She watches things over and over, so she's really repetitive in her behaviours, and that seems to calm her if she can repeat something over and over. She doesn't really play, so it's quite tricky. She does like the same few books being read to her, and she likes it when we look like we're playing, and we kind of, if we do a certain voice or something, she likes us doing that over and over again. But her playing, it doesn't really, there's no imaginative play or anything like that. She's got no danger awareness, so she does use a like specialist pushchair to keep her safe when we go out. And she's also still in a cot. So she goes to sleep quite well at the minute, but I feel like I'm touching wood because she every so often she'll go through a stage where she'll just wake up at 2 a.m. and just not want to go back to sleep. So that's always fun, those stages. But she does go to sleep quite well. She gets really tired because she just does not stop during the day. But still not sure how we transition to a bed at the moment. Next slide, please. So adaptive functioning, yeah. So Mary, she depends on us for everything basically. She can do some things like when we say arms up, she can put her arms up when we're getting dressed. She tries to take her nappy off or her trousers off by herself, but she does need us all for everything. She's got one-to-one support at school. Um, she can finger feed. So I think once she started treatment, she started being able to just finger feed herself, but she can't use cutlery. And she really likes to squeeze food and bring it in and out of her mouth. So it's a very messy affair. Like every mealtime is just chaos, and you clean up every single mealtime because it's just, yeah, she'll get an orange and just squeeze the juice everywhere. So yeah, it's a sensory thing, I think. She 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 can chew on a toothbrush, but she doesn't actually brush her teeth. We have to do that. She can only drink out of a baby bottle at the moment. She just refuses toddler cups. She just will not drink out of them. And not, normally we have to get the medicine. We put the supplements in the bottle, so to get her to take the medicine, we kind of stick with the baby bottle. She's not toilet trained, and she can't kind of get up and down stairs on her own safely. Um, Meaningful differences. I mean, yeah, it would be great if she could do more of this, but I feel like probably we've kind of we're fine with like meeting these needs. I think for us it would be like the safety, awareness of danger and things that would make the bigger difference for us. Next slide, please. Yeah, so you can see in this picture, she really loves holding things and feeling things. She's got a real, she just loves kind of like the feeling on the palm of her hand, like running water or anything. But she can't point. She can kind of grip a pen, but she can't make any marks with it. She's got a really tight grip, and she likes pulling hair. um, so she's constantly pulling children's hair at school, which is fun because they're always at the right height. She's starting to like use her whole hands to make choices on the TV of what video she wants to watch. So she's aware that her hand can indicate things, but she just doesn't have that ability to point. So she can't like use an iPad on her own. So we're constantly just selecting what she wants to watch. Yeah, she absolutely hates anything like arts and crafts at school. So the one-to-one support has told me recently that Mary knows that after she has to do the arts and crafts handprints, that she gets to watch the iPad. So the other day she went and got all of the art supplies out, shoved them at the teacher, put a hand in the paint, did a handprint, and ran off and got the iPad. So it was just like, let's just get this done, then I can get on to what I actually want to do. So yeah, she's not a fan. Next slide, please. So I chose this picture just to show you her personality. She was at school and just I think she was trying to make people laugh maybe, or she was just being silly, but just pushing her face against the window. But yeah, emotionally, she's a lot more settled now than before she started treatment. She is sometimes hard to settle when she's tired. And I do sometimes I think, is that because she's having like brief seizures and we can't see them. She does get mad at waiting. So we've had, yeah, traffic lights are always bad. Waiting for anything to, like waiting for an internet connection. It's not, never good. When there's not the right music or the right video, she can get frustrated at that or being put for a nap. If she doesn't want to go to sleep, she can get really angry. But she tends to kind of come round really quickly, and it's never a full meltdown. So we are really lucky with that. She doesn't have like 15-minute tantrums or anything like that. She regulates herself by doing various things. So she likes jumping on the trampoline. She likes chewing. So she'll chew anything, socks, toys, but also her fingers. So she's had infected fingers quite a few times. If she's dysregulated, she does tend to chew her own kind of hand. But yeah, it's not prolonged like dysregulation normally. She does, as I say, pull hair. She grabs faces as well when she's really tired or frustrated. One of the things I noted was I was told the teacher gave her a certificate at school the other week. She was using kind hands during the week. And they said that as they were giving her the certificate, she literally grabbed the child's face and drew blood. So it wasn't long lived, but she is trying, and I think yeah, it's part of like the kind of sensory seeking and frustration, I think sometimes. Next slide, please. So Mary doesn't have any speech at all. She kind of started saying mama, and we thought she was starting to say birth for ball, but that's kind of gone. And sometimes she'll say mom. We think sometimes she says yeah or like no, but it's not consistent. She communicates really well though, and she uses objects to show you what she wants. She like leads your hand and throws your hand at things so that you know what she's asking for. And there's never really a time that we're not, apart from when she's ill and we can't kind of ask her where does it hurt or things like that. She generally communicates really clearly and we understand what she's asking for. Yeah, I think like for us, we would love her to be able to use like a communication device. So it's probably less about the expressive communication because she seems to have that receptive understanding. She's starting to understand like what like instructions and things more. So expressive communication is actually lower down the list than it probably used to be just because she's got a way of communicating, and that's enough really for us. Next slide, please. Yeah, so I think cognitive function is probably the area that we would like find the most difference could be made. Mary probably functions around 12 to 18 months at the moment. So when we first met her and she was just 3 years old, she was probably close to like maybe 6 months in some areas, but not even that in other areas. So she's come on a really long way, but obviously she is still kind of functioning on a much younger level than her age. She has one-to-one support in school. That basically is just Mary roaming the school and the one-to-one person following around because it's a mainstream school. But before she had that one-to-one support, the school couldn't cope, and she couldn't do full days for a really long time. So we're really lucky that she's now got that and she can actually be in school because she really needs that kind of consistent routine. We're trying to get into a special school at the minute, which we think will suit her a lot better. Think treatment wise, this is the area that we feel would be the basis for everything else. Yeah, gene therapy wise, I suppose it would depend what that looks like as to whether it would be worthwhile for Mary. But we would consider it in probably this area more than the others. Next slide, please. Yeah, so seizures were really were the main thing I think that were affecting daily life originally. The falling was kind of what concerned us the most, obviously, which she was hitting her head on things, and we had this kind of real fear that she did hit her head a few times on something sharp or something that could have like seriously kind of injured her. So once the drop seizures stopped, that was a like huge life-changing thing really, and that happened once the GAMP supplements started. Um, she was also having those really brief seizures constantly. She does have those again now a little bit. But as I say, we're trying to increase the creatine and ornithine, and that seems to be working. I think the past few weeks when we've increased the ornithine, the brief seizures have stopped again. So hopefully that will carry on. Um, she still takes the anti-seizure meds because we've never fully got the seizures under control. But she no longer has to wear like a little scrum helmet at school because she's not going to fall over and injure herself. So yeah, I think if the seizures did come back in a big way, that it would be an area that we would consider like treatments and gene therapy for, because you're just in survival mode all the time, because obviously you're just thinking that as soon as if she falls onto the wrong thing, it could be life threatening. So I think that is the fundamental area that we would consider treatment for if they were to come back and be as bad as they were. And last slide, please. Yeah, so yeah, I think overall, if there was like a medicine for smaller improvements, we would consider that for all the domains, all the different areas. But with gene therapy, it probably more so just for the cognitive side of things. Awareness of danger, like I think her concentration and attention span is very, very small, so we can never really teach her things. Like I think, like Brittany was saying, we have to repeat things a million times before she'll ever copy us. But yeah, so and I think the understanding would mean that she could learn how to do more things independently, and yeah, but I potentially in the back of my mind, I'm just thinking, I don't know whether any therapy would now help, having now that she's like missed that development in those early years. So we would have to weigh it up at the time if there was anything offered. um, but yeah, that's Mary, and thank you for listening.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Angela, for sharing
Thanks.
about Mary. Does anybody have any comments or questions for Angela?
How old is Mary now?
She's 5 years, 5 months. Yeah.
She's so cute.
Yeah.
I have a question, Angela. Feel you and if you don't want to answer, that's fine too. But you said that you just adopted her, and it was about a year ago that you were
Yes.
fully adopted her. Did
Yeah.
you? I guess did you know? You must have known through the process that she was having challenges, and she wasn't walking, maybe, or I don't know. Making a lot of assumptions. I guess when did you first meet her, and did you kind of see those challenges and some of those things that she was working through early on? And then also, do you have any insight on birth mom? Like, is this like a genetic like a pass down, or do you know anything about that? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so we knew that we were told that she had developmental delays, but I think in the interest of like her maybe being adopted, I think things were kind of played down, and it was kind of like, oh no, she is walking sometimes and she is speaking sometimes, but the regressions weren't really documented, and it was
Mhm.
very much like downplayed, I want to say, just yeah, so I think there was a lot of presuming that she would like catch up because of her background and her kind of start in life. So I'm not sure we had the full picture, but as soon as we met her, we realised like very quickly that there was more to it than what we've been told.
Mhm.
But at that point, I think we were we were way too invested
Yeah.
to kind of yeah. So I think it was just like we need to get her home, and then get this looked into because we knew that there was something going on. So yeah.
Yeah.
But then, like you say, because we'd never been parents before, we were like, are we just being silly? Like
Yeah.
some really experienced people who've been foster carers for ages are telling us that there's nothing to worry about, but this doesn't feel right. And yeah, questioning ourselves a lot. Yeah, but we do, yeah. So when Mary got diagnosed, we birth parents did get told, and which is one of the reasons we're not kind of on social media and things because they do know that she's got the condition, so we can't kind of link, I guess, uh, link Mary to us in that way. Because if we put on the kind of Gant was the thing that our child had, it would be quite easy to find us. And
Yeah.
so, but also they did have another a younger sister. So Mary's got a younger sister who because Mary got diagnosed, she got tested for. So she's with another adoptive family that we're in touch with. And she got diagnosed at 2 because of Mary's diagnosis. So she hopefully will develop kind of more skills than maybe Mary could. She's already like talking more and cognitively she can like use cutlery and things like that. So she's developing more. So
Well, she is absolutely adorable. So, oh my gosh,
I
she's so
know.
cute.
She, yeah, she really is. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Thank you, you too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Angela. All right. Our next meeting for more parents presentations is Friday, March 20th. So you guys have a great rest of your month and we'll see you.